go ahead and just introduce Dr. Zajac. She is a master instructor in the School of Education at Indian River State College. She has over 20 years of experience in teaching from elementary education to higher education. She has an MED from Anna Maria College and her EDD with a concentration in curriculum, teaching, learning, and leadership from Northeastern University. She has completed AQ's Effective Teaching Practices, and she is currently enrolled in the Effective Online Teaching Practices course and strives to remain a continual learner. So Dr. Zajac, can you please begin?
Thank you so much for that introduction. So today I'd like to share with you a little bit about virtual group office hours and how I use them in my courses. The reason I chose to use group office hours is because it definitely leads to student success. I see major changes in students who participate in office hours from those that don't. So we all know that we tend to do better when we feel a connection with what we're doing. And in an online environment, it's really challenging to get to know all of our students. And not only do we want to get to know them, but we want them to get to know us, and we want them to get to know their peers. So when we make these connections, our students really develop a sense of belonging. And it helps them to realize in some cases that they may not be the only student that's struggling with something, and that it's okay to reach out and to ask for help. Office hours can be a little less formal way of sharing some of our personal experiences. And it's an opportunity to let our students know that we all make mistakes, but what's important is that we move forward from them. So it's a great way to motivate our students and a way to also make connections with what it is they want to do with what our course outcomes are. So let me tell you a little bit about my classes and my students, and then I'll share how I use these virtual office hours. Currently, my classes are either online or what my institution refers to as ODM. And what that means is that all of the study materials and assessments are presented online, but we have set times where we meet virtually as a group. And so I've started to implement these virtual group office hours last semester, and I use them in both formats. Currently, my students are either trying to complete their AA in education or they're working on a bachelor's degree. I think about half are traditional students, those that are coming to us straight from high school, and the other half are either returning to finish a degree or coming for the first time, but they've taken some time off between high school and college, or they're coming back because of a career change. A majority of them receive financial aid disbursements, so that requires them to be a full-time student, so they're taking at least 4 courses. Many have identified as working a minimum of 20 to 30 hours per week, and they have many responsibilities. Some of them not only are working, but they're parents. Some are caring for parents. And many of my traditional students are sharing that with the online format for the public schools, they've become the person responsible for helping younger siblings with those online formats. Something that might make my students stand out is that because they're preparing to be teachers, they have to take the Florida Teacher Certification exams. And this adds a lot of pressure to their program. It isn't so much worried about passing the test as it is the ability to have transportation to the testing sites. The closest one to our institution is about 50 miles, and then also being able to finance those exams. So these are the 3 things I found most important when I implemented my office hours. I had to make sure that they were user-friendly. So I started out by surveying all my students and asking them, if I need to reach out and contact you about this course, when is the best time for me to do that? And then I looked at the times they were suggesting, and I tried to schedule my office hours during the time that was most frequently identified. I created one link, and it's one link that they use the entire semester for both the office hours and our synchronous meetings. And that makes it easy because once they figure out how to do that, it's the same every time. I posted directions with screenshots in the course announcements, and I made sure that I sent them an individual invitation. I also let them know that there are multiple opportunities. They don't have to come each time. It's okay if you didn't come last time to join now. It's okay to come now, to come this week and not plan to come to the next session. And we even talked about how you can join late or leave early without being disruptive. Probably most important is giving them a reason to attend the office hours. So I try to look back at their student introductions and I try to find something that I can make a connection with. So when I send out their invitation to attend, I send them individually. And of course, it's really a copy and paste message, but I try to add something in that makes it personal. So if a student said in an introduction, this is my first online course, or I'm really nervous about it being online, I try to stress this is a great time to ask questions about technology. I'll be sharing how to go through Blackboard, how to submit assignments, things like that. If it's a student who says, I like coming to campus, I really miss that, we don't have all the activities going on, I try to add to their invitation, this is a great chance to get to know your classmates. I'm also going to be sharing about some organizations that are meeting virtually. So I give them a real reason to want to come to those office hours. So in the beginning of my course, I use these office hours pretty much as a way to get to know my students, a good way for introductions. And I start by stressing that it's student time. I've discovered that in our local high schools, the teacher planning time is also called teacher office hours, and they're told not to disturb the teachers during that time. So it's really important that I stress the difference at the college level, that we want them to come to office hours. I make sure that when they introduce themselves, they start out by telling something they've done well, something they're proud of, something they've accomplished, and that sets a really positive environment. I ask them to share their goals and I give them a template where they fill in something they want to learn in this course and how that ties into their program and ultimately their employment goals. And then I try to take what they've said and connect it. So if a student says, I want to learn classroom management so I can be an effective teacher and get a job in the district, I then will say, well, when we do chapter 5, you're going to learn a lot of strategies about classroom management. So this is going to be something you want to pay close attention to. And then I'll go on and I'll tell them that in the future, they'll have a course that's dedicated entirely to management. But by making that connection, they see a reason to be in the course. And even if what we're doing today isn't what they wanted, something that will interest them is coming down the road. And of course, we go through our expectations, our classroom procedures. I share campus resources, and I let them know about the clubs that are meeting virtually and how to find those links and how to join in so that they can participate in those activities as well. As we move more toward the middle of the course, my office hours tend to be a little more on content. I'll share assignment samples with them. I'll go over templates. We'll take time to review the rubric so that they understand the expectations. And in some cases, we actually revise them if we find there are ways to make them clearer. I'll ask them about their topics of interest. I've had students ask for more about study skills or about growth mindset. And so we'll set up times to have those topics. Back in the intro time, sometimes we've done syllabus scavenger hunts. We've gone through a lot with growth mindset because I find that so important to the students that aren't quite prepared to know that they have the ability to improve and get better at things. Probably the biggest draw to office hours is that many times at the end, I'll say to the students, we've had some great discussions. So guess what? You don't have to post to the discussion board this week. When you go in tomorrow, you'll see that you've already earned full points for that. Feel free to join in if you want to, but it's not required. I do get students that will ask ahead of time, if I come to office hours, will I be able to skip an assignment? And I just simply reply, it's going to depend what happens at office hours and how well things go and what we talk about. So it's never a guaranteed, but it is a good way to make them realize that I valued their time and there was a purpose to it. When we get to the end, I always do a final exam review. And what I've been doing is to say that for every student that attends, I will let them ask for one question on the final exam. So they have a study guide, they have the topics that will be on the exam. So I let them choose the topic and then I will give them a specific question from the exam. And really, I'm not giving them anything they haven't already seen. I haven't had attendance be so great that I have to decide that I have to limit how many questions I give out. I'm hoping I get to that point, but it's really served well for the students. The other thing I do is stop, start, and continue. I ask them, what is it I should stop doing that you found to be ridiculous use of your time? What can I start that's going to help you? And what are the things I should continue so that you can be successful? And then the last thing I try to tie in is with what's next. Where does this course fit into your program? What was it a prerequisite for? What might you want to register for next semester? And we revisit our goals and look at those that we met and we rewrite them for that next semester. So I think it was Ray in Field of Dreams who said, if you build it, they will come. If you offer virtual group office hours, they will come. I'll be honest, it takes some time. You can't multitask during your office hours as I used to, because your time is being given to the students. There are times that I've scheduled sessions and no one has come, but when I get what I consider a pretty good turnout, which for my classes has been like 4 or 5 students, I'm thrilled with it, and that makes up for those that they didn't come. I actually had a student the other day who was talking to me about classes for next semester, and she hasn't been in any of my classes before. And she asked, are you that student that, are you that instructor who does that office hour thing? And I was thrilled to be able to say yes, because that meant that word was getting around. And if students are talking about it and they're talking about it positively, then I know it's working. And so if that's what I become known for, I'm thrilled.